Hello. So, this is going to be a lot different from my usual content, and bear with me if this is a little rough around the edges. But recently, I got the idea to start doing some more discussion-based content or commentary content. So, I'm actually today I have the privilege to share with you one of the greatest literary works, in my opinion, to ever exist. And it is this book, All Quiet on the Western Front. I had the opportunity to finish this book actually just yesterday. And I must say, without even the slightest doubt, this is probably one of the single best works of literature I have ever read. And for those of you who may not be familiar with it, my intention with this video is not to give some sort of overview or summary of the book itself. My intention is to more so give my thoughts and opinions and reasons as to why I believe that you should read this book if you have not already. But I do think it is useful for me to at least provide some context or some details about the book. So in case you're totally unaware, this book is about a young man who is going into war for his country, Germany, during World War One. He goes into war and alongside his several of his classmates, and the things that he experiences are so transformative and detrimental to his life that he is never the same. And the I guess the most profound aspect of that in itself is that it's not just him, but this happened to an entire generation of people. So it goes without saying that the overall tone of this book is very dark. And to be frank, I think that anybody who's ever read this book would say, at least at some point in the book, they felt very depressed. I'm not going to lie. At several points throughout the book, I felt very sad. Again, it's very dark, and it's just very sad. But you know what? That's not any reason to discourage you from reading it. In fact, I think that's all the more reason to read it, right? This is, of course, it's a fiction work, but it is based on a true historical event, and honestly, one of the single most significant and transformative and consequential events in all of human history. And precisely the reason why I think that we should all read this book and appreciate it for what it is because I think the author, Eric Maria Remarque, hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, I think that the thing he wished to convey to us most of all is not an immersive story, which, don't get me wrong, the story is extremely immersive. I believe that he is brilliant at conveying the details of war and the thoughts of a soldier, under these circumstances in a way that is relatable. Although most of us do not have any sort of experience in anything even close to this. I think we all know what it's like to feel hopelessness, to feel tragedy, to feel disappointment, and to feel desperate. I think we all know what it's like to be in a situation where we find joy in the most simple and mundane of things. And that is exactly what you find throughout this novel, is that although the overall tone of it is dark, there are little points where you see like little glimpses of joy and happiness and something to kind of celebrate with the narrator. And again, the narrator is this young man, this German soldier, who is drafted and fighting for his country, Germany, during World War One. And also on top of that, I think that this book holds a lot more weight, considering that the author himself actually fought in World War One. So taking that detail into account, it's almost like, yeah, you're reading a fictional work, but bear in mind that this is based on a true event. And not only that, but the author himself has that extra layer of perspective. The things that he's detailing are very likely things that he witnessed firsthand. So I think that it's a bit surreal to really consider that as a work of art, this is something that conveys several messages, but the one that I think is most important for us to know, and the one that I think that Remarque had the most intention of conveying to us, is this. What happened in World War I is something that every single one of us should dedicate ourselves to ensuring that it never happens again. The fact that a generation of young people, of young men, were pinned against each other and fought against each other, harmed each other, killed each other, simply because of some national conflict. The fact that their lives were the expense of this conflict and the toils of nations is nothing short of tragic. And the fact that we witness such brutality, such detachment, and when I say detachment, what I mean is, this is actually conveyed in the book as well. The narrator, or the main character, the protagonist, he ends up going on leave for a little while. He leaves the front and goes back to his hometown. And while he's there, he observes this unbelievable phenomenon. And it is that everyone he comes into contact with, that is everyone all the civilians who basically know nothing of the war other than what they've heard through the grapevine, they are so detached and so ignorant as to the events and the circumstances of the soldiers on the front, that they seem almost pathetic or annoying. And I think that is the single greatest thing that we ought to strive against, even if we don't know what it was like to be in the trenches, even if we don't know what it was like to inhale toxic gas and cough up our lungs, even if we don't know what it was like to witness horses suffering and dying and crying out in pain, even if we don't know what it was like to be faced with another person our age who we did not know, who very well had a mother and children or a wife just like us, and in a single moment, all our life boiled down to was this hand-to-hand combat, and whoever could best the other. You know, even if we don't know what any of that is like, we can know what it is like to not want those things. We can know what it is like to perceive that in itself is an outcome that we should never hope for, that we should never want, and that we should always strive against. So with that, I guess that's my overall thoughts and opinion on the novel. I know it was a bit all over the place, but honestly, I could not recommend this novel more highly. I think it is an indispensable source of literature, and absolutely necessary for our time. I hope that the world never sees anything as brutal and as tragic and as senseless as World War I, again, or any world war for that matter. Conflict is inevitable. People will always find reasons to hate each other, unfortunately, and harm each other. At least that's what it seems. That's what history tells us. But at the very least, we can bring, through this work, we can bring awareness to ourselves, we can bring awareness to others, and we can strive towards a better world, a more peaceful world, a more civil world. Yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed this perspective and that this has inspired you to take up the book and to read it yourself. Don't take my word for it. If you do end up reading it and you want to provide some feedback and have a more in-depth discussion with me, I would love to hear from you. Please leave a like and a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I hope to hear from you soon. Happy reading, and be well. Thanks.